On today's edition of Golden State Warriors Today by Chat Sports, we're going to explore the possibility of trading for Utah Jazz big man Walker Kessler. He's one of the best young rim protectors in the NBA, and I think he could fill a huge role on this Golden State Warriors roster that really has a hole at that 5 spot. But before we get into exploring a trade for Walker Kessler and everything that goes along with it, we're in the heat of an August sub battle, and we've fallen a little too far behind for my liking. Those frauds over at 76ers now, they've gained 503 subs in the month of August. Warriors today, we're at 400 flat, a little more than 100 away. Can we bridge the gap? Can we close the gap and win the August sub battle? It's up to you guys. Go down below and hit that red subscribe button to never miss a beat under Golden State Warriors, and let's beat 76ers now in the August sub battle. So before we dive into the possibility of trading for Walker Kessler, what it would take, and how he would fit into this Golden State roster, I have to explain a couple things to you. And the fact of the matter is that this Golden State Warriors roster has a problem. And I would say it's a good problem. It's not the worst problem to have, right? You're not, necessarily finding yourself at the bottom of Western Conference standing projections. This team is essentially middle of the pack right now. Some people think they're actually great. Some people think they're a potential top 4 seed in the Western Conference and improved upon from last season. But I think there is a pretty decent-sized problem with this Golden State Warriors roster. And the fact of the matter is, they just have too much depth. I know, that sounds crazy, right? But if you look at the current state of Golden State's roster right now, you have Steph, the alpha, right? The guy who's going to be taking all the big shots. He's going to be commanding all of the attention of the defense. And then, a couple solid guys marginally around him. Obviously, Draymond Green is still an incredibly important player for this Golden State Warriors team. But he's never going to be this guy that's going to be pouring in bucket after bucket after bucket, creating his own shot, hitting jumpers off the dribble and whatnot. That's not really Draymond Green's game. It never has been, and it's not going to start now. Brandon Pajemski is going to be thrusted into a much larger role this season. Jonathan Kuminga going to be thrusted into a much larger role this season. But none of those guys scream number 2 option right now. Andrew Wiggins, far removed from being a number 2 option. He's declined mightily since that Warriors championship run. And then the rest of the players on Golden State's bench here, they seem like C+ to B- guys, and there's just seems like to be too many of them. Because when you look at Golden State's guard depth here, right, Steph is going to be commanding a ton of minutes. Brandon Pajemski, in my opinion, is also going to command a ton of minutes this season. I think him and Steph are going to be the starting backcourt, and both players, obviously Steph's going to be playing nearly 40 minutes a night at age 36. Brandon Pajemski, I believe, is going to be playing upwards of 32-plus minutes a night. So that's a lot of minutes already gone at the 1 and 2 for Golden State. Then you add in a guy like DeAnthony Melton, who they paid $13 million to this season. Buddy Hield, who they have on a 3-year deal for $9 million a pop. And Moses Moody, there, falls at the 4th guard on the depth chart. It's unfortunate because he fell out of the rotation last year, but when you pay guys like Melton and Hield, there's going to be sacrifices, and Moses Moody seems to have that unfortunate reality for him again. Gary Payton II accepted his player option for defensive purposes. He's going to have to find some minutes as well. And then on the wing for Golden State, you have Jonathan Kuminga. He's going to be a bona fide starter and likely the number 2 scoring option for this Golden State team this season. That's the reality of it. He hasn't yet developed that off-the-dribble jumper yet, that straight volume scorer mentality yet. Still getting most of his stuff at the rim, but that's the reality. It's looking like Jonathan Kuminga is going to be your number 2 option in the scoring department. Andrew Wiggins, you're still paying him $26 million a year. You're going to have to find him room in this rotation. There's just no getting around that. When you pay a guy that much money, you got to play him, especially when he's not, like Joakim Noah back in the day on the Knicks, where he was just literally unplayable, making $18 million a year. That's not Andrew Wiggins. He's still serviceable. He's still rotationable. If you're paying him that much, you got to play him. Then you got Kyle Anderson, who you brought in this offseason for $9 million. That's somebody who has got to fit in your rotation as well, because you just don't sign free agents for nearly $10 million a year to not play them. That's just not how the NBA works. You pay a guy, you play a guy. And then Moses Moody there, again, falling on the 4th spot on Golden State's wing depth chart. And then in the front court, it's more than the 4 players we just listed, but I'm not saying sitting here and saying the quality, especially at the center position, is good at all. You got Draymond Green, who, unfortunately, I know a lot of Warriors fans don't like it, but is going to play some minutes at the 5 spot this season. Jonathan Kuminga, I don't love him as a 4 because he's not a great rebounder. He doesn't have a super long wingspan to defend those type of guys, but he's switchable and can play the 4 spot as well. Trey Jackson-Davis is your, probably in my opinion, best center right now and has the highest ceiling of any center on this roster. Kevon Looney, you know what you're getting from him. He seems to be declining. He's not really a great interior defensive presence. He's an okay rebounder, good screener. Like, he knows the Golden State offense can run the dribble handoff well with Steph at the top of the key, but I'm not getting much from Kevon Looney at this point in his career. He's getting paid $8 million. Might probably going to have to see some time in this rotation if another center isn't added. And then Kyle Anderson, I threw in at the end. I'm not. He's 6'9", long wingspan, can defend those fours, but I'm not necessarily looking for him to be playing the 5 at any point during this season. That would be a super small lineup for Golden State, and I don't think Kyle Anderson matching up against centers in this league is a good recipe for success. So that's the Warriors roster. I think it has a huge logjam at multiple spots in that guard and wing position. We're going to fix it on the next half of today's show. But before we do, what say you? What is your ideal Warriors rotation? Who's getting the bulk of the minutes at that guard spot? Who's getting the bulk of the minutes at the wing spot? And who is rounding things out? Man in the middle. Obviously, we know Steph and Draymond are going to get a ton of minutes. The rest of the roster is really up for grabs. So I kind of want to hear what you guys have to say down in the comments section. So the reality of it all is, I mentioned Moses Moody was 4th in the depth chart when it comes to guards, 4th in the depth chart when it comes to wings, or I guess 3rd on the depth chart when it comes to wings. But still, you get the idea. You have a good young player in Moses Moody. There just doesn't seem to be a ton of room to maximize his potential. He's a good young 3-and-D player, but the unfortunate reality is Steve Kerr, I don't know if he likes him. I really don't know if Steve Kerr is chomping at the bit to go out there and play Moses Moody, who, by the way, is due for a contract extension next offseason and really hasn't seen the opportunity for him to play it up to a new warranted new deal. It hasn't, the opportunity hasn't been there for Moses Moody yet. It's unfortunate, but that's the reality of Golden State. And if I were Moses Moody personally, I would request a trade. I would want to go out there and get a bigger opportunity for myself so I can secure a bigger payday because, I mean, he's 22, 23 years old right now. Like, this next contract is going to be one that's going to be one of the more fruitful ones of your career. You know, your mid-20s to late 20s contract, that's supposed to be some good, substantial money for you to live on and for you to continue out your career. Moses Moody hasn't had the opportunity to acquire a big contract like that of $10+ million over multiple years, so I would request a trade if I was Moses Moody. Next up, though, we're going to explore that. We're going to explore a new trade idea for the Golden State Warriors. Mentioned it at the top of the show, a big man could be coming to the Bay Area. We're going to detail everything there needs to know about that new Warriors trade. But before we do, I got to get you guys hooked up with the hottest merch in the game. Team USA just won the gold. Steph Curry absolutely carried Team USA to the Paris Olympics gold medal. And you can get the official championship merch right here. You see Steph front and center next to LeBron. Chatsports.com/Team USA to get yours today. I'm going to get myself one and rock it right here on the show. I'm going to make that easy for you guys to go and get this too, by the way. I'm going to put the link in the comments and description of today's video. So go get yourself some Team USA Olympic Championship merch right now. It's hot. So now, trading for Walker Kessler. You see the wingspan. You see the 7-foot behemoth blocking the shot of Jonathan Kuminga there. Walker Kessler, man, 7 foot, $1 million. The guy is ideal for what Golden State needs at this point. They need a man in the middle, and his name has resurfaced in trade rumors after they were kind of active early this offseason, but Bleacher Report says that they're ramping back up. He says, Eric Pincus of Bleacher Report says, per multiple sources, Utah has discussed Kessler previously in trades, including a stalled conversation with the New York Knicks. He doesn't seem to be part of the team's long-term plan. That's interesting. For me, I'm not going to lie, that's very confusing because Walker Kessler, he's 23 years old. How is all-rookie first team, 3rd in Rookie of the Year a couple years ago? How is he not in your long-term plans? I mean, as far as making a deal with the Utah Jazz right now, it might be difficult because of how everything just went with Lauri Markkanen. But I think you still have to try. I think you still have to go poke the bear a little bit and go see what Utah is willing to cooperate with. Because at the end of the day, this Golden State roster has a big hole at the front court. Walker Kessler could fit it, and we'll see what it takes to go get him. I have an idea, but who knows? Maybe Utah and Danny Ainge could be playing more hardball with the Golden State Warriors. We'll see. But before we dive into what the trade proposal could be, I want to hear from you guys. Is this somebody who you even want on the Golden State roster? I mean, 23 years old, elite shot blocker. It's hard not to. But let me know down in the comments. Should the Warriors trade for Walker Kessler? Type Y for yes, type N for no. Let me know down in the comments section, Dub Nation. So, Walker Kessler, right? I mean, as far as guys who are available, this doesn't happen very often. 23-year-old, first-round pick, all-rookie first team, third in rookie of the year, elite rim protector, who can move, by the way. Walker Kessler's got a little more of a bag than you guys think. He is elite mobility-wise, and he is on the trade block. That makes no sense to me, honestly. I mean, first 2 seasons, this guy, I mean, how could you not want a player like this on your team? One of the youngest and most productive big men in the league at this point. I mean, these numbers stack up next to guys like Jalen Duren, who many believe is one of the best young centers in today's NBA. And with the minutes per game that Walker Kessler is playing, he had never even played more than 23 minutes a game in each of his first 2 seasons. And he's nearly averaging a double-double. I mean, if you adjust these per 36, Walker Kessler averages 3.7 blocks a game, and then he's averaging a double-double. Absolutely fantastic numbers across the board for Walker Kessler. Three offensive rebounds per game, too. I mean, for a Warriors team that needs rebounding, they lack size, they lack rim protection. This is a guy who you go out there and get. 23 years old, 7'1", he's 250. He's a body. You're not going to have to worry about him, his fragility and being frail and getting knocked around by, bigger centers, bigger, thicker centers. This guy can go out there and guard Joel Embiid right now with that size and frame. I don't understand how you don't consider making this deal, how you don't consider calling up Danny Ainge. I know the lottery market and stuff failed, but how do you not go out and get a guy like this who could transform your defense on the interior? So what will it take to get Walker Kessler to Golden State? This is a trade that Bleacher Report reported earlier this offseason, so I decided to run with it because I don't think that I would end up giving up more than what Bleacher Report is reporting here. So Walker Kessler comes to Golden State, and the Jazz get Moses Moody and a first-round pick in 2026. Now, that first-round pick is top 7 protected, so if it were to fall in the top 7, Golden State ends up not being great in the 25-26 season, Golden State would be able to keep that pick. Anything after 7, Utah would take the first, and they'd also take Moses Moody. Golden State would have Walker Kessler. I like this deal, honestly. This feels like the smaller scale move that needs to be made, right? We heard from Shams Charania after the lottery market and extension happened. Golden State still feels like they're well positioned to make a swing deal this season, but also feel like they can make these smaller scale moves to really improve the roster around the margins, trim up a little bit of the fat, and add a player where you have a big hole on the roster. And that's my overall take on this thing, right? Because this trade kills 2 birds with 1 stone. You have a logjam on the wing and at the guard, and Moses Moody is a victim of both. Then you have a hole at the front court spot. Outside of Trace Jackson Davis and outside of Kevon Looney, who am I really comfortable playing big minutes at center this season? I mean, Draymond Green, none of those players even are 6'10". None of those players even reach 6'10" in the height department. Walker Kessler's 7 foot 250, and he blocks 3 shots a night. If you give him the minutes load, he might block 4 shots a night. So this kills 2 birds with 1 stone, and I'm a big fan of Walker Kessler long term. I think he's going to be a mainstay when it comes to big interior defending centers that most players are not going to want to take the ball to the rack when they see him down in the paint. So I'm in on trading for Walker Kessler. What do you guys think, though? Would you make this trade specifically, giving up Moses Moody and giving up a 2021 or 2026 first-round pick, top 7 protected? If you would make the trade, type A for accept down in the comment section. If you wouldn't, type D for decline. But if you do type D for decline, let me know what you would trade for Walker Kessler down in the comment section. I want to hear from Dub Nation on that. And that'll do it for today's edition of Golden State Warriors Today. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel so we can win that August sub battle and so you can never miss a moment surrounding your Golden State Warriors during this offseason, into the regular season, and hopefully another postseason run for Steph Curry and the Bay Area. Let's go, Dubs. We'll see you in the next one.